Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How you going?
How you doing?
I
Good.
can see.
Hello.
Mm,
So who's here? Joel.
Let me call them Marisa.
Yep.
Marisa. I just called another teammate. He will join us very soon.
Okay,
So
thank you. All right, that's fine. So today is an assessment component. And what we're going to do today is just check on your progress to completion of your tasks for the Agile cycle. So what I'm interested in looking at this stage, knowing that, of course, you haven't finished, is that you've started to develop some of your functionality, that you've started to consider issues of design in your interfaces, and that all of your design decisions are assisting you in ensuring that what your client and user needs are going to actually be fulfilled. So we'll just kind of talk through a little bit of that today. And then give you an opportunity to show me whatever it is that you want to show me that you've been working on. So let's start with our project manager. So will you remind me, and it may have changed because I think your team has changed substantially in the last couple of weeks.
yes.
Will you tell me now what your Agile Cycle 1 is going to include, please?
Our client asked us to change his requirements last week. I reported that for you. But in our client meeting, the client Thomas is explain what he want to do for us. He is want to us work together with another team to make another new application. I told him that is difficult to make just in few days. It's a big program, big change in our program. And Julius explained that technical difficulty on it. So at the end of the meeting, our client is understand what I mean, and he gave up his idea to we will keep our previous application to finish that. So for now, nothing will be changing our application, and we got the support from another team for that, and the front end of the coding or technical support our application. So that is good news for us.
It is. That's really good negotiation. I'm very pleased you went through that process. It's quite often that people want to change small things, but to actually go, and by the way, I've changed the project, that's not appropriate, and they know that, but they do try sometimes. So I'm very pleased you were able to stand your ground and talk through the logistical difficulties of that. So congratulations, it's a very important thing you went through.
So I asked a question about we still need to recording that change and the story in our report. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So if anything has changed, just make sure that you document that in this Agile report, because when you started your planning in your planning report, that's what you thought was going to happen. Now that you know a lot more about things and you've tried things and you've tested things and you've talked about things, some things are likely to change. So what this report gives you an opportunity to do at the end is just say, well, this is what we thought we were going to do. This is what we're actually doing. This is the reasons for the changes, and this is the implications for moving forward into our next Agile cycles. So you just document any changes that have come about as a result of that negotiation that you had, and just set up a new set of Gantt charts that represent the new version of Agile 2 and the new version of Agile 3 as a result of these changes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. That's really, really helpful indeed. So what have you been able to develop? Is there something that you would like to demo for me today?
Yes, we have done the application, but just meeting our first step. So Edward will show you our design, what we want to do. After that, you will explain what our application is. So
Okay, please do.
Edward,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah,
Edward,
go ahead.
thank you.
Yeah, just wait a minute. I show my screen.
Yeah.
All right. So, could you see my screen now?
Yeah.
I can
Yes,
indeed.
yes.
Thank you.
All right. So let's begin. Hi, I'm Ifan, the lead designer in our team. Now let me share my screen to show you our screen. I'll show you our design. First, let's talk about the consistency of the design. Now we can see from the screen that on the left is our initial design we've made in the planning phase. And on the right, that's the final design we made in the current Azure One phase. We can see that from the two designs that the majority of the application elements kept the same, just a little bit modifications. What we've done in the Azure One version is to polish the initial design into a high fidelity one with colorful bottom, background, and other delicate patterns. Then let me talk about the client needs. Our clients require us to develop a web application for data extraction. So we separate the user process into 3 steps. The first one is select map area, and then the next is select time and the variables. And finally, that's the download step. Thus, there is a one-to-one correspondence between user process and the website page. Finally, let's talk about the color used in the application. Here are the header and footer from Client Future's website. I picked 2 colors from its logo and the footer background. Then the orange color is used in our functional areas like here and here. And the dark blue color is used as the overall background color in the application, like here. And that's all. Now let our lead programmer, Joe, to introduce the functionality of the application.
Thank you very much, Yifan.
So I'll share screen now. So this is the data portal actually made in HTML. We've got the basic functionalities that are front end because the back end is all done in the next 2 phases.
Sure.
So we've got basic client-side functionality such as the map, which is powered by Esri, and the basic responsive layout as well as working, so you can swap between the variables and select dates and things like that. And this will all be updated once we have the actual logic implemented in the next 2 phases. There's also the user manual which has been created. It's quite empty at the moment, we just have to write this, and it will be updated throughout all the phases. But you can select different information, and this is all loaded through different files, so it should make it very easy for our team to write.
Great. Good. Thank you very much. All right, so I like that. That looks really nice. I'm really pleased you found with your design choices and trying to bring consistency in, which really does help usability. All of those are really important decisions to continue thinking through. And also, when you're writing this in terms of the documentation, this document is not just a what are we doing document, it's a why have we made these choices document as well. So when you present your prototypes and your choices, just as you did for me then, make sure that you are talking to why you've made particular choices and how they are going to help the user or the client fulfill the needs that they particularly have.
Sure.
So that's a really good and strong demo so far. So I'm very pleased you've been able to pull that together in basically 3.5 minutes. That you've had to work on coding and interfaces in these weeks, but That's really good. I'm very pleased about that. So what is your process of testing coming up? What thoughts have you given to that?
I have drafted some test process and the table for our technical testing and user testing. And we have the first step proposed is for our climate exporter. So that means we will ask our client Thomas and his colleague to do this user testing.
Right.
And that's our first purpose. So in next semester in Agile 2 or 3, we will explain the user scope to general user or and guys to take part in our testing. So that's our initial plan for testing.
Great. Okay. And Mirza, you're leading the documentation still, is that correct?
Yep, it is.
Excellent. So what's the process of putting all of that together so far? There's a lot of things going on. Where are we in terms of putting it all into a document?
As far as the documentation concerned is, we have putting up the design process and the technical request thing put in the documentation as far it is, but it still need to be put the testing thing.
Yep.
Because we need to send it to the Thomas probably next Friday or maybe after that. They can do that according to that, and then I can put in the documentation and maybe send it to you to see whether it is correct or not.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's a good idea. So if you want me to have a look at it, make sure that you send me an email whenever you're ready and just book out a time so that we have that time set aside. And once you're ready, you send me your document and we'll have a little bit of a look. Remembering it's due week 12, end of week 12, Thursday, week 12, something like that. So just make sure that you give yourself enough time for a meeting and for review and any changes that you need. So just book it whenever you're ready to do that. Don't leave it too late. Obviously, if you leave it late in that week, those times are probably gone. So as soon as you're ready, just book a time, and then when you are ready with your document, send it along. Very happy to do that.
In fact, to be honest, I want to book your time in next Thursday.
Well, send me an email. I'll see what my diary looks like. And
maybe next Monday I will book that because we have not done the draft. So let me double check that first.
Yeah, you don't have to send me the draft when you make the booking. Make the booking first, and when you're ready with the draft, just attach that as well.
Yes, I will.
So you don't have to wait.
Thank you very much.
That's great. I'm very happy to look at it. So basically what's coming up is that submission happens in week 12, and then in week 13 we get together again for another demo, and that's just another opportunity for you to show me what additional work you have been able to do, what the feedback of the testing has shown you, and how that has been implemented if you've had time to do that. So it's kind of just what the second step towards the completion of all of the Agile components as you have now defined them actually is. So again, if it's slightly different than what you thought it was going to be, that's okay. Just got to talk to what you've been able to do and why. So is there anything I can do to help your team at this stage? Any advice, any guidance, any concerns that you have that I can help you with?
I think Kim have one.
Yeah, Kim.
Yeah, Kim, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a simple question. If we are still eligible for the 5-day extension for the assignment.
Sorry, can you ask me that again? I can't quite hear you.
Yeah, for the 5-day extension for the Agile report, like the universal extension in the.
Why do you need a report? Why do you need an extension?
No, I'm just asking if we can have that. It's alright if we don't. Since
no, it's not an automatic given. This project, and there are that many of you, 7 of you working on one particular output. So project doesn't fit necessarily and automatically in that grand thing that went out from the university of you can have an extension if you need it. You still have to justify the need for it. And in project, given that there are 7 of you and you have just told me that you're on track, there is no obvious need for you to have an extension, also because your client is requiring this as an output. So, up to the point of some disaster happening, I'm willing to consider that, but at this stage, there does not seem to be a need for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just basically throws off all of the milestones and you won't get your results done in time.
Yeah.
But it's a good question. Thank you for asking. I have no problem that you ask.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. All right. Well, if that's all that I can do for you, thank you very much for your time and your demonstration and your thoughts about what you've been working on with your client. That's really important stuff to know. Please make sure that you document all of that and send me an email when you're ready. And otherwise, I'm very excited to see your report in week 12 and even more excited to see what else you've been able to develop by week 13. So I'll go back to work now. Let me know if you need me. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
you
you.
take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.